What if an entire community got together and recognized how powerful it would be to collaborate on projects and opportunities using the concepts of geoscience and geospatial technologies? What if these projects propelled young students into envisioning new ways of understanding STEAM, the acronym for Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Mathematics? And what if, by building their capacity, they contributed to the development of our collective future workforce? Welcome to Small and Gutsy, a podcast featuring interviews with nonprofit and social impact organizations under $10 million. My name is Laura Witkoff, and I'm excited and proud to be your host. My hope is that you love the stories as much as we do, and perhaps you will find needed services, a job, volunteer, or donate. Feel free to pass along any valuable information you hear on this podcast to others, and remember to send me the name of any organization you'd like featured at reachus@theintrinsicgroup.com. Gateway GIS began in 2019 and offers a project-based curriculum that connects real-world applications of GIS, or Geographical Information Systems, as part of STEAM, education through online lessons, virtual presentations, and hands-on projects in schools, youth-serving organizations, with a focus towards serving marginalized communities. This community building support system guides preschool to 12th grade workforce development projects with an eye on career development and entrepreneurship that is inclusive of geoscience and geospatial technologies. The system is free and is provided by skilled volunteers working alongside educators and community collaborators. I am so very excited to introduce the creator and founder of Gateway GIS, Dr. Roz Norman, founder of Creative Technology Educational Group, Lisa Lee, and IT instructor, Tom Bass. So let's get started. Welcome, Roz, Lisa, and Tom. Please share with me your tremendous passion on how this evolved and your involvement.
Well, first of all, thank you so very much, Laura, and I am so grateful to Lisa and Tom for taking the time to be with us today. I cannot do this without the support of so many others. I have often said, and I truly mean it from my heart, that this is bigger than me. It's not about me. I do not get paid to do this. This is something that I really believe in my heart and in my spirit is something that's not only needed, but I feel, if you can say, spiritually guided and highly motivated to work with so many others who, like me, want, to do something that would hopefully help our young people and at the same time our communities.
What was that inspiration, Roz, for you?
The inspiration started with the fact that I grew up in the very downtown neighborhood of St. Louis, Missouri, where they're building the new National Geospatial Intelligence Agency West headquarters. And in that neighborhood, which is referred to as the Jeff Vanderloo neighborhood, at the time when I was growing up there in the 50s and the 60s, it was a neighborhood that grew to become a thriving African-American, really focused effort of renovation. And I was fortunate because I was there, with the person who founded Jeff Vanderloo, Mackler Shepherd, when he started this urban renewal process within our neighborhood. And now, all these years later, I still live near there, even though my life has had many detours and I've had a lot of doors closed in my face, and I understand what it's like to be a person of color, to be a female, and also the age thing, because I'm really at an age and stage in my life where I can look back upon the more than 40 years that I've been working with young people in different communities, and I can see that if our young people that come from the kind of community I came from, even though Jeff Vanderloo was a thriving, African-American community that was really into renovating their homes and their neighborhood, it was still considered low income. It was still considered a part of the city that others who were part of urban planning wanted to very much take over and really move us out. And I think we stayed as long as we could as Jeff Vanderloo, even up through the 60s and into the 70s. And by the time I say we hit the 80s, you can see the funding had dried up. You can start to see the decline. Then you start to see how all the efforts that Mr. Shepard put into renovating, through his, organization, the different homes and trying to really build up that community, you start to see a regression. And that has been with me probably all my life because I was there to witness all of this. Okay. And then to see that the kids that I have an opportunity, even now, though I'm retired, I still find time to, do what I love doing, is working with young people and different communities. It bothers me because our young people of color, whether you want to say black, brown, all the colors, red, yellow, you name it, okay? Especially our young people of color who come from a low income background just do not have the resources. And I know, had it not been for a number of people and organizations that I interact with throughout my life would have been much different. And it's the resources that I have found to make the difference in my life and those who I interact with. So what was driving me is the fact that I saw a lot of wasted talent, and a lot of it was based on what, we're now beginning to realize as a part of systemic racism.
For sure. And not having those mentors, opportunities, people who believe in you, and the experience of doing the projects that you've created that bring all those factors together really can boost an individual's belief in themselves and within the context of community. I so appreciate your story, because from your own experience, you drew that inspiration and passion to say, I need to make a difference in this way.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And I think when you get a chance to hear how Lisa became involved and her very important role in galvanizing the support of the Boys and Girls Club for St. Louis, then you'll hear also about Lisa, her own company, and Lisa's commitment through her company, as well as her relationship with the Boys and Girls Club. You hear how she too, like-minded, how she became involved. And then you also hear from Tom Bass, who is like my frontline person at Clyde C. Miller Career Academy, where we have our daytime component. I'm excited, and I want them to share how they too saw a connection with what I was trying to do in working with all the different community collaborators as well as the young people.
Lisa or Tom, please jump in here. Share your inspiration, as Roz pointed out, and the depth of your engagement and involvement.
So my company is named Creative Technology Educational Group. And one of the reasons its name is Creative Technology is because I've been pretty big into technology innovation, technology and art. So I've been in technology and education, in technology, the field of technology, for over 25 years. And I'm a coder, a developer, IT specialist, just everything in tech. So one of the things that really motivated me and inspired me was when we had the Mike Brown riots and the Mike Brown thing happened here in St. Louis. And it made me think, what am I doing hands-on in the community? I know I'm not going to get out there just being honest and march, because I'm not going to do that. I applaud the younger people who did and the older people who did. But I was like, I kind of feel like my generation kind of dropped the ball. It's like my mom's generation, they did a lot with the civil rights. And then we kind of benefited from all that, lived a kind of a cushion life. I went to private schools and, had a different kind of life because of that. But then I looked at the kids who were in high school and in their early 20s, and I'm like, okay, these are the kids of my generation's kids, or now 18, 19. That's what really inspired me. My brother and I have another history in the music industry. We sold millions of records, we got Grammys, and so we wanted to come back and kind of combine technology, business, and art. Boys and Girls Club was a perfect place, inner city, North St. Louis. And so I went there and I started teaching them how to code AI and a blockchain, a lot of cryptocurrency and innovation and all of that. Best Buy put millions of dollars into building a tech center, a very high-end tech center at the Boys and Girls Club in St. Louis. And so Roz was there at the opening.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I was introduced to Roz in her program. And when I met her, her passion, her commitment, I didn't even really know much about the GIS industry, but I was just drawn to it. I wanted to always see that African American young children would see someone who looked like them doing things and, introduce them to concepts and things like that. So that's kind of how I became a part of Gateway GIS, and it's been an amazing, amazing ride. The students in the after school program at Boys and Girls Club, it introduced them to something that they use every day with their phones. They use GPS all the time, DoorDash and stuff and all that, especially now, and Amazon and all of these things that use that technology, but just to kind of bring it to and let them experience it, have a hands-on. We did a neighborhood banner project in the after-school program with Gateway GIS, and Gateway GIS connected the Boys and Girls Club and the St. Louis Contemporary Art Museum. And the students were able to meet some young graphic artists.
Yeah, you're talking about Kevin McCoy.
They made banners for each neighborhood.
That's fabulous.
This is the area where the NGA is building the NGA West. So all of the neighborhoods, which are basically primarily African American neighborhoods, and a lot of these kids are from those neighborhoods or have family in those neighborhoods. I'm hearing great feedback from the kids. They're loving it, and it actually inspired them to want to do some more graphic stuff and some more GIS stuff. So it's been fantastic. It really has been fantastic.
You're linking the dots between what they're already using every day and the concepts of, if you have a great innovative idea and can use this technology, you too can participate in something innovative. It's such a great message. It's not a dream. It's not you purchase it and do it. You get to be it.
You get to be a creator of it. And that's my main thing with the technology and the coding, and to understand you can create these things. We're not just be a consumer, but you can be an actual creator, and you can innovate. You can think and innovate and create something using this technology. And that's the power of the Gateway GIS program, bringing this to the students. And I can tell you for sure, 100%, because I work hands-on with the kids, it has had a very positive impact on the lives of children.
There's no question. I want to get back to that. I want to give Tom a chance to jump in and talk about your passion, your engagement, your involvement from your perspective.
Well, I've been very blessed. I think that word continues to come to mind, that the day that I was able to meet Dr. Roz and also have a chance to get to know Lisa Lee, because they're just great people that represent great opportunities for our students to start to understand all the technology that is available to them. And more importantly, how they can be a part of the equation, of the understanding of it. It's humbling to be involved with that, because you really just don't appreciate until the light bulb goes off for them how that's making a difference. And so when I had an opportunity to get involved with Dr. Roz and Lisa, it was an easy answer of, my goodness, yes, I couldn't imagine any other way of doing it. Dr. Roz is a really hard act to follow. She has so much determination, and really you can just tell just in the last few minutes of what she's described. When I was encountering that for the first time, and it really has only been less than a year to two, it was just infectious. Roz probably touched upon one of the major points, at least from my standpoint, is that we're really trying to change the narrative for those students. We want to make sure that they understand that you can make a difference. You are a positive light in what might other be interpreted as something that just is out there. You're not just that. You are making a difference. So when Roz presented that opportunity to me and said, Tom, what do you think about this? I was completely on board. How can we truly positively impact those students and do that now? And so that's where my passion has come from. And as I said, in I guess in a couple different ways, I just feel very blessed to be part of that and to be involved with people like Lisa, because Lisa is a great go-to person for trying to understand, those relationships and things along with that. I just can't speak highly enough of these two individuals. They are great people to work with.
What a testimonial, Dr. Roz, for you and for this concept, because you really bring, and I want you to talk a bit about how the program is set up and how these students really get that application learning. But it really is a concept where they get it all, what they're already seeing out in the world that exists, and then bringing it home to affecting change within their spirit of entrepreneurship and their spirit of being on a project team, and then seeing it come to life. So will you all talk a little bit about the nuts and bolts of how projects get started? You mentioned the Banner Project. I think you have a whole host of other projects. And by the way, I just need to mention to our listeners, you all are young. I mean, this is only since 2019, even though the concept might have been the year before that you were working on it, you really just launched this. It'll be 2 years this spring. That's incredible. And you're already seeing an impact.
Well, thank you. And I think that just so you can probably get a little bit more of a picture of what we're trying to do. When I think of geoscience and geospatial technologies, and the geospatial technology would include the global positioning system, which is your GPS, that our phones, our satellites, our self-driving cars that they're designing, and even the cars now have. When you think of that, we take it for granted. And we do not really always think of geospatial technologies in that sense of what we think of when we think of science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. But we need that, if that makes any sense, integrate that so that what my purpose is for Gateway GIS, especially now that we're going through the first year of this, this initiative, and that is to integrate the geoscience and geospatial technologies into the STEAM curriculum, but to take it even further than that, because when I think of how our young people in marginalized communities, based upon my experiences from having worked with young people from, ethnic and culturally diverse communities, and particularly those that are marginalized, we cannot talk about pie in the sky and abstract in theory. We have to be able to connect for them what is real about this, okay? At the same time, one of the other goals of Gateway GIS is to give them that necessary skill set of being able to develop, the necessary technical skills, okay? So when we put that together and we look at, okay, how do we approach them using the skill set, for example, in the Neighborhood Banner Project, what Lisa's talking about, we had to navigate to a virtual environment and use that for instructing them on using Adobe Suites, Illustrator, and Photoshop for kids. Now, they may be on the computer using Facebook and, Snapchat and everything else, but we're talking about giving them some additional tools. At the same time, with the Neighborhood Banner Project, for example, the arts educator who is an artist who has the necessary credentials, for example, Kevin McCoy, who really started, the project as an arts educator, and he was selected by the Contemporary Art Museum St. Louis to conduct this, initial part of the Neighborhood Banner Project, because we're looking at almost a year to really get all the banners made, okay? Because you're teaching the kids the software, for design, graphic design, and at the same time, you also helping the kids learn how to do research. You're helping the kids to learn how to look at their communities through a different set of eyes, to look at their cultural, their historical and economic contributions. That means taking it from a more favorable and positive perspective other than what they see on the news. Because it's so easy to accept the negativity that's usually projected of our young people of color who come from marginalized communities, because that's usually what they see. Countering that through this program by saying, look, we're going to also help you to not only see yourself differently than what you may see out there, but to also give you some skills to help you to become your own self-determining person, okay? So when you look at the Neighborhood Banner Project, that gives them an opportunity to see themselves in a more positive way, to see that they can, acquire these necessary skills and to learn how to research, learn how to dig into knowing about their different communities. So that's applied to Miller Career Academy as the IT instructor there. Tom and Reginald Ferguson are my 2 points of contact there for the daytime component, because it's a 3-part model the way I have it set up. So the daytime component is year round. And I've been really blessed to have people like Tom and Reginald at Clyde C. Miller Career Academy, because both of them have the kind of technical expertise that we need, but they also know how to relate to the kids. And that's extremely important.
This is really about the kids seeing themselves and their capabilities, both research, artistically, computer-wise, all across the board, in a way that creates forward thinking, not this negative barrage that they've experienced. And I think it's a huge self-esteem booster. And also, I imagine there is, for students who are working on this, a collaborative piece among the students themselves, because you've role modeled that with the collaboration that you've built with the Boys and Girls Club, with the schools, community organizations like this art museum that has this project. It's a remarkable model.
Contemporary Art Museum St. Louis is very important, though, because it's located in Midtown St. Louis. So it's a lot of artistic organizations that's just south of the divide, including the Fox Theater. And you see where I'm going with this? So even Channel 9 and all of them are there in that area. And this is what's so interesting, is because they're literally next door to a marginalized community that has been devastated for several decades, but yet they thrive because of the location and all of the funding that goes into that area. So to have this relationship takes it to another level, because now we are beginning to bridge that divide by getting those organizations involved. And the beautiful part of having the Contemporary Art Museum St. Louis involved is that they're paying for this arts instructor to do this, okay? So they're paying for the project. When I think of Gateway GIS, I do it because it's a labor of love. I don't get paid to do it, but guess what? When I'm talking with representatives from all these other organizations and companies, and I say to them, Gateway GIS is about us giving back. It's time for your big company, your organization, all of us to give back. And I mean, giving of your time, giving of your talents and resources. I'm not talking about you writing a check. You know what I'm going to say. It's easier for most, people who have that kind of wherewithal to just write a check and they're done with it. No, that's not what I want. If we're going to be about true social change, we got to invest our time, our talent, and resources. And our kids and people in the community need to see and touch people who look different than them. At the same time, people who have those resources to say, if we're really committed to genuinely see you, put in the time and the effort and be there.
It's about real engagement. And so it leads me to another question is, you have a lot of partners like the Contemporary Art Museum, but that whole area, and you mentioned Channel 9, the public television station. And so you have, I think, a list of 30 partners you've been able to say, and I love the approach, like it's great to get a check. I mean, everybody wants a donation, but you're really speaking from a different point of view, which is true engagement. And that's the only way. You talk about bridging that divide. It's really eventually erasing that divide, right?
Yes.
Some of you all mentioned, actually, Tom and Lisa too, the impact that you've seen, like the light bulb going on of students who have participated. So I'd love to hear the impact that you're seeing on students, as well as, a couple other projects you'd like to share.
The way this is set up, is that Clyde is our daytime model for any and all schools and youth organizations that look at daytime programming. So what goes on at Clyde during the daytime is what Tom and Reginald deal with, and they integrate it into what they're already teaching in a career academy, okay? Because we work with 4 different career pathways there now because of Tom and Reginald. So some of the projects that they're working on, and Tom can get into this too, is the Story Map project, so they can utilize the geographic information system that was donated through ESRI, ESRI, which is an international company that deals with this kind of technology, and it's free for K through 12, but it takes that technology and it puts it into a story map. And that's the project that Tom and Reginald are working on with the kids. Another project for Tom and Reginald, Tom has attended where we had monthly throughout the entire first year before COVID, where they actually went on site to a lot of the big companies that specialize in these different areas of science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. So Tom can talk about what some of those workshops look like. And he can talk about, especially when we went to Boeing, the Boeing company, you know, the one internationally known aviation company, right? We spent a half a day there with the kids. He can talk about that. And then I know some of the other projects that we've been working on and we're working on now is building the relationship with one of the most respected computer programming organizations in the city of St. Louis that has an apprenticeship. So we're looking at bringing that apprenticeship program now together with our students from Clyde, especially in the programs that Tom and Mr. Ferguson are working on. And more recently, we're talking about with our relationship with the University of Missouri St. Louis, we're going to be adding an all-girls artificial intelligence program for the 9th, 10th, and 11th grade students at Clyde. That should be starting this spring. We also are looking at for, if not the summer, definitely by the fall. I'm working on this now with one of our major companies that's just moved to St. Louis area, dealing with drone pilot training. Believe it or not, a young person at the age of 16, if they can pass FAA exam, they could be licensed as a drone pilot. I'm throwing out these projects now so that I can, you know, bring it back to why it's so important to understand the role that what Tom and Reginald are doing at Clyde C. Miller during the daytime, because it is year round. It is something that's, you know, other schools are now, school district representatives are now talking with us. And I'm beginning to tell them, look, I want you to go to Clyde and see how they're doing the program. Then you can take the program, modify it to fit whatever your needs are, but go to Clyde. Okay, and see them because they're our demonstration site. And then what Lisa and them been doing at the Boys and Girls Club, that's our afternoon program, and they become a demonstration site. Like Lisa said, she's doing some things that's very exciting with augmented reality, with artificial intelligence with the kids in the after school program there with the Boys and Girls Club. So they can go there and see what Lisa and them are doing at the after school program. And then on the weekends, we have a relationship with the St. Louis Science Center, nationally recognized, and their Youth Exploring Science program. We just tell people, look, go on the weekend and check out what they're doing with their Youth Exploring Science program. They are already a nationally recognized model. So that brings it full circle, and it brings what I call the best of the best practices together for what we're trying to do with Gateway GIS. So it's up to Lisa now and Tom to talk more specifically about what they are doing, you know, with their, you know, part of the three-way model. So the daytime is at Clyde, after schools, Boys and Girls Club, and like I said, the weekend Science Center, okay? So Tom, Lisa?
One of the biggest impacts that I think that it's had on the students has been RISE. They had has a internship program with the Clyde C. Miller students. We got one of their students to be an intern. Tom and I worked together. I saw changes with him, the intern. He was a senior in high school, but he came in and he taught different software programs and coding to some of the middle school students. And for them to look up to him as a high school senior, you know, once again, looks like them, he's got his backpack and he's real cool, you know, and they could identify with him, and to see him be so interested in technology, so knowledgeable, and teaching them things. Like, I think they were using a music software and, you know, and creating video games. That I saw it impact several of the students, even when he wasn't there, that I'm just getting like choked up from that because I see these kids coming from not being interested, throwing a football and basketballs through $1 million technology facility with all these high-end computers and all that. And I'm like, oh my God, you're throwing a football to sitting down, being engaged just from that intern coming in, just from him coming in and saying, hey, and them getting around him. And first, maybe it's two of them or one, and then the next day it's five, and then the next time it's 15, to see that. And that was all facilitated by Gateway GIS internship program. And I even saw the intern himself, he became more responsible and he saw them looking up to him. So, it changed him. So so that was one of the most powerful things I witnessed.
I can still remember because now, we're working also with East St. Louis School District. Remember when we met there at the Herbert Hoover Boys and Girls Club right up the street from Clyde on Grand, and it was at the Tech Center, and we had Darius. Darius Pikes is from East St. Louis School District, and he met us there. And the reason why is because we had one of the people that owns her own drone company, the CEO, wanted to stop by. And the kids, they were doing different things, when we first walked in. But when they saw Darius and when they saw Carla, who was the CEO of her own drone company, and Lisa, all of us gathering, and we started pulling things up on the computer and showing them what drones do and talking about the technology. Lisa, you remember that visit we had, there at the Boys and Girls Club? Tell her a little bit about that, because that was exciting.
Yeah, well, they came in and talked about the drones and that we had the visuals and drones and what it was and all of that, and the kids got really, really involved. And you got to think about a lot of these kids, they're coming from disturbed home lives and and in the neighborhood just in general. A lot of them are there so they're not out they come after school. And a lot of them come so they aren't out in the neighborhoods. There's a lot of crime and, a lot going on in that particular area. To see them just to sit down and to get interested and to start to pursue, even after that, I'm there with them, and I'll come in and they'll start talking to me about what was that about those drones and what was that? So I really do see the impact, I really in one-on-one with that, it might be even a kid that they feel like they too cool to say it in front of the other students, but they'll come to me later and say, what was that lady, Dr. Roz, what was she talking about? So
you've really created an environment where the older kids can become role models. They get feedback from the younger kids. And I love what you said, Lisa, about ooh, I'm too cool. But then on the side, it's really piqued my curiosity and I'm going to learn a little bit more. And I also really appreciate that many of these students come from environments where there isn't an opportunity. This may not be celebrated. And if they walk home, maybe they're going to be in a situation of feeling compromised. And you've created spaces for them and shown them that as they grow and develop, particularly at that middle school, that there is a role for them in high school where they can contribute, their people can look up to them, which is what those interns get to experience. So you've covered that whole packaging that I think all of us in society want for our young people in order to really develop a future workforce in a positive way with positive self-imagery. It's wonderfully executed, and you've shared it so beautifully. Now, in my podcast, you all may know, I always have a round of quick and gutsy questions at the end, and they're just for fun. So are you ready for the quick and gutsy round?
Okay.
Let's go.
What is at the top of your wish list for Gateway GIS? And the answer can't be money or donations.
First thing coming to my mind is to deliver on whatever, the projects are that we're putting in place. It's extremely important when you're dealing with young people, when you're dealing with marginalized communities, that you deliver. This thing about talk is cheap. You got to walk the talk. So that's at the top of my list.
And I want to go back, Roz, to something you said earlier, which is really the engagement piece. Money's great, don't get me wrong, but the engagement is going to change the culture and nature and perception, right? And I love that. You're bridging, but it's going to be an eraser of that divide. I love it. Lisa and Tom, any response that you have?
Yeah, I'd respond to that because the first thing that came to my mind is I would like to see it more students, more schools, and more after-school programs. I'd like to see it expand. We have it in place to expand. Boys and Girls Club has 12 sites, so we've already at 2 of the main sites. But I would like to see it expand, touch more students, grow bigger in terms of school districts and after-school programs picking up the program.
Me too. And I'd like it to not just remain in St. Louis, but all the other cities that could benefit. So we got to get Roz and you all on some big banner that's nationwide. Tom, you're up.
I would say the first thing that came to mind for me is just seeing the growth, not only of the students, but of the program itself, because there's so many great opportunities here, and we need to make sure that our students are aware of what they're capable of and not only what they think they're capable of. Because if we can help them to bridge that, there is just a never-ending flow of possibilities that you'll just continue to see, at least I believe. And I think that's what Gateway GIS personally has brought home for me.
If you were to think of a song that describes Gateway GIS, what would it be? I know everyone always gets a little stumped.
You know what? I got one.
Okay, good, Lisa, go.
The first thing that came to me is the song "Ain't No Stopping Us Now."
You love it. Okay. Absolutely. Keep going. I love it. Perfect. Yeah, there's nothing that's going to stop you, right? No way. No way. Yeah. Roz or Tom?
I would say for me, the first thing that popped into my head was the Jackson 5's ABC, easy as 1, 2, 3, simple as do, re, mi, and then, just where do we take it from there?
Okay, it's the one that's the theme song for Harriet. And I think if I had to choose, because really it was a tie between that and Beyonce's Spirit. So, it's sort of hard. Both of them really capture, the essence, because we need the spirit within, to really keep us motivated. Because we have to take ownership and be accountable for, ourselves as individual. And as people of color, we have to be self-determined. And with Harriet, it's because of that self-determination of Harriet Tubman to reach back and say, I'm gonna bring along those who are ready to come along and escape the enslavement and all that oppression, and to, come into a place where they can truly be free and truly develop.
What makes your organization gutsy? Because it is gutsy.
I would say that Gateway GIS is definitely gutsy because Roz is, she's very passionate. She's about the students. She's not about photo ops. It's really about delivering quality experience to the students. And you got to be gutsy to do that, especially when you have a lot of people who are about the money, who are about, the prestige and all of the other things that people are about. So when you're not about that and you're truly about community development, that's, to me, the genuine movement towards community development is what makes Gateway GIS gutsy.
I really appreciate that. And I appreciated that she said, I want people to walk the walk. I want, when we have a community partner, I want them to be a partner. And that's gutsy, because not everybody's going to take the time to do that. And you said it really nicely, Lisa. I really appreciate that. It's so true. Tom, do you have a response to gutsiness?
I think for me, the first thing that came to mind for gutsiness is how can we keep growing this in a positive way, and what's the impact for for students? How can we continue to make a difference and see the differences that the program's making for students like we mentioned?
My last gutsy question is, if you could get one celebrity or influencer to endorse or talk about Gateway GIS, who might that be?
I would hope we could get somebody that would be a local celebrity presence. Like Lisa was saying, I think that there's a great potential for people to be involved if they really continue to understand what they're getting involved with.
You know what I would say, because I am, heavily actually involved in fintech, in blockchain and cryptocurrency is a real big focus of mine and my company. So with that being said, I would say Akon. And I would say Akon because Akon is building a big Akon city, a real high tech city, and he's got his own cryptocurrency. And in terms of GIS, I think that he could really speak to that. So I would love if he could be a spokesperson to speak on behalf of Gateway GIS.
Dr. Mae Jemison. Dr. Mae Jemison, the first African-American astronaut who is not only a physician and engineer, and she is phenomenal. I mean, if I can get someone like Dr. Mae Jemison, she's at the top. I mean, she would, to me, embody, not just a person of color, she's a female. She broke down barriers. I mean, and she's still living. She's still young enough. She's younger than me. So, and her influence is not just international, it's really beyond that. So
let's hope, my hope is that she's listening, because it's absolutely worth it. How should people find Gateway GIS? What's the best way?
Through the Gateway GIS website, but of course we have all social media that's been there from day one, gatewaygis.org.
I want to thank you, Dr. Roz and Lisa and Tom, for spending this time with me. I learned so much about your efforts and what you are doing for the young people in this environment, as well as, by the way, I think all your volunteers, your community collaborators through your internship program, both for the older students and the younger students. As everybody's already said, your collective enthusiasm is absolutely contagious. So I think our listeners are going to hear that as well. And I just want to take a moment and thank you all for being with me and spending this time with me and sharing the information.
Well, thank you. And thanks, Lisa, Tom.
Yes, thank you.
And thanks for allowing us to be a part of this and to give you different perspectives.
Our blog of these small and gutsy nonprofits and social impact organizations can be found in the organizational story section of the Intrinsic Group website, so that we can continue to link clients, volunteers, future employees, and donors to this small but very mighty network. Of course, we can't take responsibility outside of our own vetting of the organizations we interview. So before you sign on to support or work for them, we encourage you to do your own due diligence and research them as well. We just want you to learn about the small and gutsy nonprofit and social impact organizational sector so they can spread their story and their very impactful work. I want to thank my partners in this endeavor, the Intrinsic Group, a management consulting firm specializing in guiding organizations to leverage talent, optimize processes, and ensure these organizations' narrative is aligned with their culture. The volunteers, my co-producer, sound engineer, and composer, Pavel Franson, and my graphic designer, Nate Addy, my social work intern extraordinaire, Stephanie Tran. Please check out their bios on the Intrinsic website, and all the folks, friends, and family who have guided and inspired me. And thank you for listening. If you like this podcast, please share it with your friends, give us some stars, and write a review on wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're interested in sponsoring Small and Gutsy to keep it going, please reach out to me at reachus@theintrinsicgroup.com or buy us a coffee at www.buymeacoffee.com/small-and-gutsy. So as you all know, we've started since our 10th episode to give shout outs to all of you who are giving a shout out to us. So here we go. Rosie Rohr, a podcast that truly lives up to its name. Really enjoyed the conversation and learning about these small but impactful nonprofits that are creating community and doing so much good. A hopeful, inspiring, and humanizing experience that soothes the soul. Rosier, that warms my heart. Thank you so much. From small and gutsy to big with impact, I'm Laura Witkoff, and thanks for listening.